Notre prochain orateur incarne à lui seul la révolution des roses, qui fait aujourd'hui de la Géorgie l'une des réussites les plus accomplies parmi les pays membres du partenariat oriental. La Géorgie est aujourd'hui définitivement engagée sur la voie de l'intégration européenne et atlantique. Mesdames et messieurs, veuillez accueillir le président du mouvement national démocrate et président de la Géorgie, Mikheil Saakashvili.
Monsieur le Président, Mesdames, Messieurs, venir à un sommet de PPE, c'est un peu comme se rendre à une réunion de famille. Une famille réunie par des valeurs communes et un idéal partagé. Et cet idéal a un nom pour tout le monde, c'est l'Europe. Nous ne parlons pas ici d'une notion géographique, encore moins d'une machine bureaucratique. Nous parlons de l'Europe comme projet politique, comme idéal moral. L'Union européenne, sans aucun doute, la plus grande avancée du siècle dernier, traverse aujourd'hui une crise majeure. Une crise qui dépasse la question cruciale de la dette et que l'on peut qualifier d'identitaire. Face au pessimisme ambiant, face à la montée du scepticisme, la famille PPE sera, j'en suis intimement convaincu, le moteur de la grande refondation européenne. Je suis venu ici avec un message simple, un message d'espoir. Non seulement le projet européen a un avenir, mais pour nous, voisins de l'Union, ce projet est l'avenir. Ladies and gentlemen, we heard the speech by our chairman, and we all know that the Russian Federation occupies militarily 20% of our territory in violation of ceasefire agreement and international law. You are aware of the tragedy of 500,000 of my citizens, as we are a country of only 5 million people, who were expelled from their home because a former KGB officer in a faraway capital decided that their home was not their home anymore, but a playground for his neo-Soviet ambitions. You are aware that I want to express the gratitude of this very people of the Georgian nation that the European Parliament has just stuck to its highest moral principles and adopted a resolution on Georgia where European Parliament spoke of the occupation, illegal occupation of my territory, and for the first time since Balkan Wars has accused a military force of a major power in Europe of committing war crimes of ethnic cleansing. The latest proof is being the European Parliament. I think this is the latest proof of what this family means, because this was a resolution, of course, supported by absolute overwhelming majority of the European Parliament, but was originally advocated by the People's Party. So despite the occupation, the ethnic cleansing, the embargoes and the continuous threat, I came here to deliver a message of hope on behalf of my country as well. Look, Georgia that has been occupied, Georgia that's been proclaimed dead several years ago, right now is one of the best reform performers. We are the world's #1 economic reformer according to the World Bank, based on 5 years period. We are world's #1 fighter of corruption according to the data of Transparency International, based on 5 years period. We are the country that has second most efficient and transparent bureaucracy in the world according to Canadian Centre of Law and Justice, Law and Democracy, after New Zealand. And this is a country where these results have brought the results that, poverty has decreased from 52% down to 17%, and it's continuing to decrease. And a country that has tremendous social gains in terms of equality, in terms of advancing democracy and our own conservative values. And the country that, against all the odds, was also upgraded by Standard & Poor just 2 weeks ago because of its economic and political performance. The Union, that's exactly the gains that we are bringing to the European Union. The Union is projecting stability and progress in its surroundings, and I think the European Union, against all the odds, is synonymous of peace, democracy and prosperity. For the countries of Eastern Partnership, there is no alternative to Europe. Our paths might look different. Georgia might embrace quicker and more steadily. the European political model than maybe some of the others, but at the end there is no other solution than the European transformation of our societies, no other geopolitical choice. Europe doesn't integrate as some people fear, or maybe some people hope. What is the future then for our region? The Eurasian Union is proposed by some nostalgic leaders in Moscow. The same project was imposed on Georgia and many other nations almost 1 century ago. It had another name. It was called the Soviet Union. And it had been tragedy for all of us. I spent my childhood or early youth in that country. I don't miss any bit of it at all. And I think lots of people, basically everybody around me shares the same feeling. So if the European Union is the future, then Eurasian Union is the past. If the European Union has the potential, and Europe has always found the way, that's what we learned from recent European history. Eurasian Union is still born, no matter what is the declaration right now. And this is very important to understand, because recent events in small occupied areas in Georgia called South Ossetia remain. Russian president went there for official visit. They staged elections and they could not control even those staged elections. They campaigned for so-called presidential candidates in so-called elections, and it all degenerated into violence and ugly pictures. And I think this preempted what happened in the center of Moscow, and that have shown to us that the methods and the language of the past simply do not work anymore. I meet a lot with young people in my post-Soviet countries. I travel a lot to some of those countries. I can tell you there is no way they will accept new Soviet Union in any form, under any name, under any pretext. And the present is sometimes chaotic, but the future belongs to democracies, open societies, free markets. In my region, this democratic future has one name only, and this is Europe. EPP is the natural home for these reformist forces that are building such a European future, and the EPP has to be the leading force in the neighborhood policy. Ladies and gentlemen, the principle of more for more, adopted by the European Union, is the right approach. The European Union proposed more cooperation and more integration to those who want it more and act accordingly. Both in terms of economic and political transformation, we want to be a success case of neighborhood policy, a success story for the EU and for the EPP. Thank you.
Georgia, meanwhile, is already an established but not a well-known success. Let us remember the aggression she fell victim to in 2008. The invasion that was stopped only by a strong intervention of President Sarkozy acting as President of the European Union. The European People's Party has always shown solidarity with our Georgian friends. Dear Mikheil, the European People's Party was the first to denounce the post-conflict situation and to use the most accurate words to describe the reality of the situation. The European People's Party was the first to refer to the illegal presence of Russian troops on Georgian territory as occupation, and to request their withdrawal. The European People's Party was the first to denounce the ethnic cleansing conducted in the two provinces seized from Georgia. I am delighted to be able to say that 3 weeks ago the European Parliament passed a resolution condemning the situation in terms that are just as strong. I wish Mr. President Saakashvili, as President also did, the 7th of October in Tbilisi, to solemnly reaffirm on behalf of the European People's Party the commitment of Europe to the sovereignty of Georgia, its independence and territorial integrity.